All eyes were on the Sprint Cup Series trophy as the chase headed to the Valley of the Sun Sunday. Just 2 races remain, and now it's down to 1.
Previously in the chase.
No question Jimmie Johnson is in control at this point.
Just be cautious here at the start.
Trouble for Jimmie Johnson.
Here, take our time, get this thing fixed up.
The whole field thinks that this championship is back open again, and you know what? It is.
Oh, trouble. Turn 2. Montoya got into the 99. Kurt Busch will go to victory lane here at Texas. Mark Martin's going to end up in 4th spot.
Awesome all day long. 10-4, buddy. Did what we had to do there. Nice job. That's the deal, guys, right there. That's why we keep digging every day, because you never know what's going to happen.
12 drivers, 10 races, 1 champion. For 7 weeks, he was a man unto himself, blowing away a talented field, making a legendary moment seem like a foregone conclusion. Then, it happened. Now, the smooth ride into history has become a showdown in the desert. In an instant, the landscape changed for 2 veterans of the chase. The improbable is now very possible. And his sure thing is anything but. This chase is far from over, so watch your back, because the championship is survival of the fastest.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the post-race edition of NASCAR Now. I'm Mike Massaro alongside Boris Said, and we're down to the final race now that Phoenix is in the books. What'd you think of this one, Boris?
Well, I thought it was amazing how Jimmie Johnson rebounded this weekend after what happened last week with the bad luck and getting wrecked out. So, unbelievable chase.
Yeah, unbelievable. Still not over yet. Let's take a look at how it all unfolded in the Valley of the Sun. Jimmie Johnson entering with a 73-point advantage. Arizona Senator John McCain giving the command.
Words in motorsports. Gentlemen, start your engines.
And once again, lap 3. We saw it happen last week. Things getting a little bit dicey early here. One of the championship contenders right in the mix there. As you look from the onboard camera of Jeff Gordon, that was Mark Martin. He was able to avoid any disaster and starts to make his way through the field, Boris.
Yeah, especially right by 77. That was a close one. In the beginning, Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon were tearing through to the front of the field.
He gets by Casey Kane, then bypasses Jeff Gordon, and it would look like Mark Martin would pick up right where he left off in the spring when he went to victory lane. Jimmie Johnson came in as a favorite as well, Boris, and he was strong early as well.
Yeah, he was. He was headed to the front, trying to chase down Kurt Busch. It looked like his car was really good.
And there would be some back and forth between Jimmie and Kurt Busch. Busch, the winner a week ago in Texas. Very strong race car again this afternoon as he passes the 48 for the lead. Lap 57. Jimmie Johnson returns the favor, however, and slips on by the 2 car.
Yeah, right now he's just headed off into the sunset.
And we take a look on pit road. This is a team effort, the 48 team. A little bit slow, though, with the left rear tire during that change, and that allows the 2 car to get back out in front of the 48. He's the leader once again. Lap 90, and again, Jimmie Johnson and Kurt Busch battling for that lead. Jimmie Johnson, though, flexing some muscle, slipping up in front of the Blue Deuce, picking up the advantage. First caution on pit road. Kurt Busch this time having a few problems. A little bit slow with the right front tire changer there, and that would allow Jimmie to regain the lead, and, well, Mark Martin would move up as well. He starts on the outside of the front row on that next restart. And this is the first time we saw double file restarts in Phoenix, and, well, we should have expected this, shouldn't we, Boris?
Yeah, I mean, this is basically an example of an accordion effect. When somebody checked up, he just headed down the line, and the back of the pack causes big old wreck.
And Michael Waltrip involved, several others. Let's take another look. Why does this consistently happen in Phoenix?
Well, it's a really tight front straightaway. There's not a lot of room to avoid people. And actually, a car checked up about 10 people in front before it actually caused the wreck, and there was just nowhere to go.
Heavy damage to the Napa Camry. Michael Waltrip done for the day. On the restart, more of the same. Jimmie Johnson getting out front. Denny Hamlin starting to look strong as well as he bypasses Mark Martin and moves into second. Lap 129, more drama this time between Kyle Busch and Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, it looked like Jeff Gordon just turned down on Kyle Busch. Didn't look like Kyle moved up at all, and Jeff Gordon got a little mad about this.
Yeah, I would say trying to pay back the favor, and Kyle Busch wisely moves aside. After all, 24 still in the championship hunt. Lap 171, and wow, Dale Earnhardt Jr. cannot catch a break, Boris.
No, it's just bad luck after bad luck here. He just got a little loose on the inside, pinned down, and like we said at Phoenix, one of the most narrow straightaways on the circuit. There was no place for anybody to go, and it turned into a parking lot.
Gets quite a bit of damage. He's behind the wall, comes out about 52 laps down. Back out on the racetrack. Let's take another look.
Here's the trouble. You can't see anything once you get to see the tire smoke, and it's just so narrow. Turned into a parking lot. Didn't make Tony Stewart very happy.
Lots of drivers involved. Kenseth, Stewart, Hornish, among others. Meanwhile, Jimmie Johnson, well, looking strong again, back out in front, and at this point, he led by 5 seconds over Denny Hamlin. Lap 242, green flag pit stops, and Denny Hamlin on pit road. He's on the bottom of your screen. Jimmie Johnson at the top. And this would be the battle off of pit road. A great stop by the 11 team, 13.2 seconds. And that would certainly put some pressure on Jimmie Johnson coming out, putting Denny Hamlin within striking distance. Could he capitalize, though? We'll have to wait and see, trying to reel in Jimmie Johnson in the closing laps. 48 car, awfully strong, Boris.
Yeah, I mean, 48 all day long. I think he had a mission statement to prove that last week was just a fluke, and he wanted to win, lead the most laps, and tear off in the sunset and get everyone else nervous about next weekend.
Denny Hamlin does make it close, gets it within a couple of car lengths, but then his car starts to go away a little bit, and Jeff Burton on the charge. Good run for him. This organization needed that.
Yeah, and Jeff Burton came from nowhere. He wasn't that good in qualifying. He was okay in practice, but he was moving towards the end of the race.
And meanwhile, you've got Mark Martin still trying to stay within striking distance of the 48. He would ultimately bring that car home fourth. But the story of the day, Jimmie Johnson. He's the man. Last lap, coming to the finish. A little bit of a wiggle, but really no problems there. He led 238 laps on the day, picking up yet another victory. His championship advantage now 108 points over Mark Martin. All he needs to do is finish 25th or better, and nobody can do anything about beating him for this year's championship. There's a look now at your finish in Phoenix, and as we mentioned, Jeff Burton, a great run, bringing it home second. Richard Childress Racing still looking for their first win of the season, Boris.
Yeah, but this showed a lot of progress with Jeff Burton in second and Clint Boyer in seventh, so a good day for the RCI guys.
And also a great day for Martin Truex Jr., bringing it home fourth, his first top five of the season. Very, very strong effort there. He started on the pole as well. For more on Jimmie Johnson's win in the desert, we bring in Nicole Mansky. And Nicole, it looked like another dominant Jimmie Johnson performance.
Yes, it appeared to be more than just a little bit dominant. You know, the thing that Jimmie Johnson complained about all week in light of what happened last week in Texas was that he said his team didn't get a chance to perform badly, or they didn't get a chance to perform well. All he was asking for was the chance. Today, he got it.
Chad and I, the conversations we've had, the team meeting, everything was, we need to show what we're made of. We need to get this done today. It wasn't, I guess in the end it could have been a statement that we're sending, but we knew we had to come out today and run well. We knew that this was going to be a great track for the 5 and also for the 24. And the only way to get any points on them would be to lead the most laps and win the race. And we did it. So I'm very proud of the fact we looked each other in the eyes, knew what we had to do, and delivered. It wasn't easy. You know, there's a lot of pressure on us to do this. You know, all week long thinking about this race, wondering if we could come back and step up like we did today. There's just a lot of thoughts that go through the brain, and I'm very, very proud of how we delivered and rose to the occasion.
Coming in here the way that we had to reestablish our motivation to come in and run this race. You know, it's difficult because everybody's like, oh, you'll be fine. You know, you've got a 70-point lead, you'll be fine. I don't think people really understand how difficult it is to be fine in this industry. I mean, it's really hard. There's a lot of guys out there trying to be fine, you know, and to do what it is that we're trying to accomplish, man, it's a lot of hard work. and everybody's got to dig, and you can't sit back and you can't rest and you can't think what ifs or what happens now. You got to just go in there and attack, and that's kind of the mentality that we had. We prepare the cars to the best of our ability. We pump up Jimmie, we pump up the pit crew. I push Jimmie throughout practice to, if we're a half a tenth slower than whoever the fastest car in practice, I push him to get him to where we're a tenth faster. And that's how we prepare, and that's how we do it.
Now, Jimmie Johnson has never won at Homestead Miami Speedway, but his average finish there is 13th. In other words, it is good enough, because all Johnson has to do to assure himself of his 4th title would be finish 25th or better next weekend. And by the way, if he does that and does wrap up his 4th title, he'll become just the 5th driver in a NASCAR National Touring Series to win at least 4 titles. Mike?
Now, Nicole, on the other side of this story, there's Mark Martin. He fell further behind today. I know you spoke with him after the race. What was his demeanor?
You almost have to feel bad for him. Again, it's the same story we've seen with Mark Martin again and again and again. He's still second to another one of NASCAR's great drivers. That's his own words. Today after the race, he said he was again very, very proud of his 5 team, of the way that they performed, and he had every right to be. They finished in the top 5 again today. But there was also a slump in his shoulders, and he didn't address the media right away. He took a few minutes for himself. So today was a little bit of reality sinking in that, again, he's probably going to come second in the championship.
Yeah, there's still a chance, but it is a very faint chance. Nicole, thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
And Jimmie Johnson was able to do today what he was unable to do a week ago in Texas. And Boris, that's avoid problems. Take us through his day.
Yeah, I really think for his best defense, it was a really good offense to protect that points lead. So basically, we saw a little smoke in the beginning, didn't really know what that was. Looked like a little bit of tire rub, got everybody worried. But on lap 120, Jimmie Johnson, here he is running really close with Mark Martin. Looks like he's pushing him up a little high here, racing him close. Mark Martin had to subside. Jimmie was in the lead. One of his crew guys, Jackman, it's like the quarterback of the pit crew, very important guy, had a little sore ankle there. They taped that up. It was fine. He had one slow stop, but all the stops towards the end of the race were perfect, and that's when it really counted. Jimmie Johnson, flawless today.
And how good is Jimmie Johnson in the chase? Well, 18 of his 47 career wins have come in chase races. That's 3 times as many chase race wins than any other driver. He's won more than 30% of his starts in the chase. Just simply amazing. And now he's led more than 3,000 laps in chase races. Don't go away, folks. Still plenty to come here on NASCAR Now. Coming up, we'll hear from the guys trying to chase him down in this championship race, Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon. Mark Martin came into Sunday with renewed championship hope. Just 73 points behind Jimmie Johnson. He rolled off 10th. However, he did not lead a lap, remained second in the standings after finishing 4th. It was not the day he was hoping for.
It's a great run. It's just a great team effort. Really good race car. We're just, it was just a really good run. We were just right there. We were really good on long runs. And that last run was what we needed, but the car just, it just didn't quite, it got a little tight. It wasn't quite what it had been on some of the earlier long runs. I really thought I could get to them. I thought it was going to be a 4-car race there. With 35 to go, the way my car had been coming on, I thought, this is going to be fun. It's going to be a 4-car race, but kind of fizzled out. I'm very satisfied. It was a great job by this team.
Jeff Gordon came into the race clinging to hope, 3rd in the standings, 112 points back, but it was not the day he was looking for either. He started 14th, ended up finishing 9th, remained 3rd in the standings, 169 points back. Once again, disappointed, but proud of his Hendrick teammates and the 48 team.
Those guys are amazing. Rick Hendrick and his organization is the best out there, and they've been proving it year in and year out. And it's very gratifying to know that it's coming, to Hendrick Motorsports and also the Manufacturers Championship this year. And we're excited, and at the same time, we're just like everybody else out there. We want to beat the 48 team, so it inspires us over the offseason to try to get better, and we'll look at doing that. And right now, we got one race to go, and then we'll we'll certainly look forward to giving those guys all the props and the respect that they certainly deserve, because they've earned it.
There's an excellent chance that Hendrick Motorsports drivers will finish first, second, and third in the standings. That's never been done before, but Hendrick Motorsports, they're the only team since 1990 to finish 1-2 in points, and they've done that twice. Most recently, 2 seasons ago, of course, Jimmie Johnson won the championship, followed by Jeff Gordon. And Kyle Busch finished 5th that season for Hendrick, so obviously they've got things pretty buttoned up. And Boris, there was hope for the Chasers coming into this race.
Yeah, I mean, after last week at Texas, I mean, Jimmie Johnson got in a wreck, none of his own fault. Everyone had a little bit of hope. But coming into this race, Jimmie Johnson just took out the big guns and basically told those guys why he's a 3-time champ, and basically decimated the field, dominated Happy Hour, dominated the race. And you can see these guys are beating men right now. I mean, they're going to need Jimmie to have another mistake next weekend for them to have any chance at all. But I think they know it's over.
Beaten men. You just heard Jeff Gordon talk. What'd you hear in his voice? I
heard basically, you know, he's a beaten guy. He knows Jimmie Johnson's the best right now. You know, he's happy he's his teammate. After all, he's part car owner on that car, so he's got to feel some gratification in that. But right now, I think he knows that Jimmie Johnson's the man to beat.
Yeah, I don't know how much hope still exists. He's got a 108-point advantage, but remember, he lost 111 in Texas, so it still could happen. When we come back here on NASCAR Now, we'll get some perspective from the garage and hear what Jimmie Johnson's competitors are saying about what he's done so far. Be sure to catch Monday Night Football this week. It's an AFC North matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. Monday Night Countdown gets things started at 7 p.m., followed by kickoff at 8:30 on ESPN. Time now to check in with the pit reporters, beginning with Dave Burns.
Well, the best case scenario for Jimmie Johnson today, clinch the championship and not worry at all about Homestead. The worst case scenario, something like what happened last week at Texas. But you know what? Even though this win seems like a real high moment, it actually comes out somewhere in the middle. And Jimmie Johnson told the media this weekend that that's where he needs to live personally. He said, I could dwell on the peaks, I could dwell on the valleys, but I wouldn't want to get too excited or too bummed out. And that's why living in the middle is the right place for me. Yeah, the win was big here at Phoenix, but at the end of the day, it still is just about in the middle for Jimmie Johnson.
We saw the equation that good driver plus good car plus good pit stops equal very good result. Jeff Burton, he's won here twice, and he had an excellent run here today. His team just had to massage on the car throughout the course of the day, and his crew picked him up spots in the pits. So what was the difference between second place and first place? Burton says it was the fact they had to start 36th. He shouldered that blame for a less than stellar effort in qualifying. But what stands out is that since Todd Barrier has come on to the 31 team, he and Jeff Burton have combined for 3 straight top 10s, definitely building momentum going to the season finale at Homestead.
I'm Jamie Little, and today I covered Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin came into this race having been better than Jimmie Johnson in 4 of the 8 chase races. The other 4 chase races, he was the worst chaser, so they had nothing to lose. Brought a brand new race car here, and they threw things at it never tried before. In the end, the car was solid. They were solid on pit road, especially the last pit stop. They ended up finishing 3rd for the 4th time at Phoenix, but Denny Hamlin was very optimistic at the end of the race and said when they go into Homestead, he looks to gain a couple more positions in the points. He's 8th now.
I'm Shannon Spake. The past 2 weeks, the Richard Childress Racing Camp has really come alive, and it was another top 10 finish for Clint Boyer in Phoenix. Surprisingly, though, speaking with his crew chief Shane Wilson before the race on Sunday, he told me that the car was a real struggle in practice this weekend. So they punted, and it worked. Clint Boyer drove away with the 7th place finish in Phoenix.
For more from the garage, we bring in NASCAR Now reporter Angelique Shingalis. And Angelique, Jimmie Johnson certainly in command as we head into the season finale. What are his peers saying about what he's been able to accomplish thus far?
Well, tons of praise, frankly, Mike. Denny Hamlin came in and told us that this was really a statement race in his mind for Jimmie Johnson, especially coming off the 38th place finish last weekend at Texas, that Jimmie didn't come in and just hang back. He came in and he was aggressive. He went for the win and he got it. And said that there's nobody who can stop him right now. And Jeff Burton, who we all know has a lot of opinions on the history of this sport and certainly the future of the sport, said that when you evaluate, and he doesn't like to compare generations of drivers, but he said when you evaluate Jimmie Johnson's career, and especially now these last 4 seasons, he said it would be impossible to keep him from being maybe right at the top of that list, or maybe in the top 3, certainly with Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt, and said right now he's simply the best.
He definitely deserves that praise. There's no question about that. We heard from Jeff Gordon earlier in the show, and for the 2nd straight week, he sounded really frustrated. Can you give us some perspective on what's going on with Jeff?
He said, Mike, that at the start of the race, he really thought he had a very good car, and he liked the way it felt and what was going on at the start of this race. But then he said everything went away. He complained throughout the race over the radio that they just could not get the setup right. The handling was poor. He said he had a hard time on restarts. He just couldn't get a good feel for this. And you said it. He said it was absolutely frustrating. They can't seem to figure out how to get a handle of this. The last few races have been very challenging for Jeff Gordon. I mean, he had 9th place finish, but that's not what he had in mind. He thought he came in with a car that could win this weekend.
All right, changing subjects a little bit. It's been a bit of a shaky start for Brad Keselowski with Penske Racing thus far. 35th a week ago, 37th today. And we understand he had a meeting with NASCAR this morning. What was that about?
He did. He met with Brian France and a few other NASCAR officials, Mike, to discuss his aggressive driving. Now, they want to keep him in check just to say, look, you're a young driver. We understand you have a personality on and off the track. And they want to keep him in check a little bit. But several other NASCAR officials said, look, we like what he brings to the sport. And when I say that, it's about his, I guess, ongoing rivalry, we can call it now, or feud with Denny Hamlin, that, again, we saw in the nationwide race, Saturday night. And the two got into it, and Denny Hamlin certainly didn't hold back after the race, said that he essentially, well, there will be some retaliation perhaps next weekend at Homestead in the nationwide race. And Denny Hamlin also said that there are several other drivers who want to take a shot at Brad Keselowski. Now, Brad said that, he took it with a grain of salt. He was actually very appreciative that Brian France met with him and definitely has a better feel for what is expected of him on the racetrack. But it will not change his style. He is aggressive, and he will remain aggressive.
And he's definitely getting a lot of attention, perhaps not the attention he wants, though. Angelique, thanks for your time, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Thanks, Mike.
Still ahead, Jimmie Johnson captured his 7th win of the season. When we return, we'll hear from the Phoenix winner. He was awfully excited to rebound.
After his dominating win on Sunday at Phoenix International Raceway, Jimmie Johnson and team look forward to trying to make NASCAR history next Sunday at the Homestead Miami Speedway in South Florida. Inside the pit studio at Phoenix, Alan Bestwick, Rusty Wallace, Brad Daugherty, and Ray Evernham to talk about what now? What will these next 7 days for these people be like as they stand on the verge of NASCAR history? What will it be like?
It's going to be very agonizing for them, no doubt about that. But what they should do, they need to go back to the shop right now and focus, but don't over-prepare.
Well, what'll happen is you got to remember, these guys have won 3 consecutive championships in a row. They know what to do. I think they will be very relaxed going into Homestead as they go to pick up their trophy.
And as Rusty said, focus. And that will be hard to do because there'll be a lot of distractions this week. So they're going to have to ask Mr. Hendrick and the group there to keep the distractions away. Don't be worried about interviews. Don't be worried about T-shirts and hats. Worry about nothing falling off that race car.
Ray, let's talk about things falling off the race car from Chad Knaus's perspective as he works back at the shop throughout this week before they put that car on the truck and send it to South Florida.
Well, he's got to make sure that that car is probably already ready to go. Make sure that the motor department is right, the chassis department is right, and the guys have gone through their checklist. But like Rusty said, don't over-prepare. Don't do anything outside of your normal routine because that's when you make mistakes.
Are you kidding me? We saw these guys build a race car for Texas race. This race car will be solid as a bullet. They'll go. They'll be prepared. This team's going to go there, and they're going to dominate and win that race, something they haven't done.
Guys, just do what they've been doing all year long to get them where they got themselves right now, and they will be, as Brad says, the 4-time heavyweight champion.
Yes, sir.
Jimmie Johnson has never run spectacularly at Homestead Miami Speedway, but just remember this, he hasn't had to. He's been in these 25th or better situations about the last 3 years. History on the verge of it anyway next Sunday in South Florida for Jimmie and his team.
Some other race notes. Jeff Burton finished 2nd, his best finish since winning at Charlotte in October of last season. Denny Hamlin came home 3rd in his 150th career Sprint Cup Series race. He's been 6th or better in 6 of his last 7 Phoenix races. And the tough run continues for Brian Vickers. After a clutch performance to make the chase, he hasn't had a top 10 finish yet in the 2009 postseason. Joining us now is the man who dominated in the Desert Sunday, Jimmie Johnson. Jimmie, congratulations. After what transpired in Texas, what's this mean to you?
Man, it means a lot. Just to be able to bounce back from the tough week we had, and I mean, we didn't do anything wrong last week, but it's still in your head, it's still in your shoulders, you know, the pressure of what happened and the points lost. So to come back, qualify as strong as we did, lead as many laps, win the race, get maximum points, you know, it's what we needed to do. It's the best medicine for a bad race, and we have to go to Homestead and put in another good night.
What was this week like for you?
Man, you know, in a lot of ways, I could forget about it because I didn't feel all that responsible. And I don't know what I could have done differently in that moment where we were crashed. But I look at maybe the fact that we had a big points lead and I didn't push the car as hard as I needed to in qualifying, and we ended up 12th, kind of put us in harm's way. And then, you know, so there's a little bit there I thought about, and then there I'm like, you know, I'm really trying to dig deep here to find something. But I couldn't get rid of that negative, you know, impact or emotion that I had in my system. I got rid of most of it, but until I got in the car on Friday, you know, then more went away, and then now there's most of it is gone. But still, until Homestead's done, and if we're fortunate enough to have that trophy, then it will completely disappear. But if we miss this thing by a few points, I can only look back at Texas and say that was it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, we all know how great a motivator Chad Knaus is. What did he say to you and this team before today's race to kind of get Texas out of your heads?
You know, during the week, he just reminded everyone that we were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Everybody did what they needed to. It wasn't a car failure, parts failure, engine failure, driver mistake, pit stop that put us in that position. So I tried to keep the guys focused on the job at hand. And then as soon as we got on the track today, this weekend, it was easy to focus on the task at hand and start forgetting about last weekend. So, you know, Chad's a great motivator. These guys are very strong on this race team. They thrive on these moments. And I think as a group, we all stepped up today and got the job done.
All right, so now you go to Homestead in a familiar position with a 108-point lead. What's that like for you?
Normally, I'd be really relieved and excited, but after what I experienced last week, I'm not all that relaxed. 7 more days of keeping my focus, making sure that everything's right, and it all starts on Friday down there with qualifying. I need to qualify as strong as I can, and we got to log in 400 miles.
All right, now Chad said in post-race commentary that you guys always perform better under pressure. You feel like you have that pressure?
I do, and I think last week shows, I mean, I don't know how to really draw parallels from last week, but we always have responded well to pressure, and this weekend shows that. I really wish that we didn't have last week's problem and we were celebrating wrapping up the championship right now and didn't have to deal with Homestead, but it's not what what was in the cards for us, and we need to go to Homestead and act like we've got a small points lead or even behind for that matter, and really be smart in what we do and race hard.
Now, I've got a pretty good suspicion how you're going to answer this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You've said all along that you've been in attack mode. You weren't going to get conservative. How do you approach the season finale in Homestead?
Really, I want to run the top 3 all night long. That is the safest place on the track. You see it time and time again where the front 3 guys will kind of point each other by if someone's faster and play that give and take game. If you're in 15th or so, it's cutthroat. And our whole goal is to qualify well, run strong enough to stay in the top 3 or so on the track and take it from there. So with that in mind, we need to go down there and focus on running hard and racing for the win.
Okay, big picture here. Rick Hendrick did wrap up the owner's title today. There's a chance that Hendrick Motorsports could sweep the top 3 positions. That's never happened in the history of the sport. What would that mean to this organization?
Couldn't happen to a better man and to an organization that has dedicated themselves to the sport and deserve it. So I certainly hope it happens. Rick deserves everything that he gets. He's put his heart and soul into this race team, and he has 550 employees that believe in him day in and day out. And outside of our shop, you know, in this garage area, he's the most respected man around. If you're a competitor, a fan, a sponsor, everybody really respects Rick, and I'm so happy for him and he and his family for that matter.
Yeah. What's not to respect? I mean, the man is amazing,
so
professional, and very successful, obviously. Jimmie, you are too. Congratulations and good luck next week.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Still ahead, we'll check in with the guys who followed the 48 to the checkers. Hear what Jeff Burton and Denny Hamlin have to say about their run in Phoenix.
What a performance. The 3-time and defending NASCAR Sprint Cup champion gets it done and wins the 3rd year in a row here at Phoenix.
Jimmie Johnson celebrating, and why not? Another victory in the books. But he wasn't the only driver who had to be very pleased with his performance on Sunday. Jeff Burton coming home 2nd, Denny Hamlin 3rd. Both of them were in the media center. Let's check in with them.
We restarted 6th with 100 laps to go or something, So, it's hard to say that we didn't have the track position we needed at that point. We weren't as good that run as we were the last run, and the 48 got out on all of us, and the pit sequence we gained some on him, and then we were faster than they were. So, I don't know. It always helps to race against the guys that are leading the race because it enables you to compare yourself against them. You should be able to win the race with 100 to go starting 6th, and I know my numbers are off a little bit, but it's close. It's hard to use that as an excuse as far as track position. But what you lose is the opportunity to compare yourself against the guy that has the best shot to win the race, and you get a little bit fooled about how good you are when you have maybe the fastest car on the track and you're running 15th because you're beating everybody that's around you. And then when you get to the top guys, then it gets harder. So I think that's the biggest disadvantage. I think this is fair to say that this is the best we've run all year. Last week, I know it was 9th, but I'm telling you, we won that race last week with what we had in the car, what we had for a backup, and the way I felt, and what we made happen with that car. We won that race, and I know that's hard for you guys to understand, but that was an incredible effort last week, and this week, we honestly had a shot to win this race. So, I think this for sure is the best second place finish we've had. This is the best we finished all year, but we led a lot in Vegas and finished 3rd. We had a shot to win that race early in the year, but that race and this race were our 2 best shots, with the exception of the super speedway races.
We've got a question upstairs.
Yes, Jeff, Mark Armijo with the Arizona Republic. What can you say about the 48 after being involved in that crash last week and coming back and winning today? And with a few more laps, could you have caught him in the end?
I don't know. We were catching him. I don't know if he has a way of finding a little bit of speed when he needs to, and it's hard to know. It's I'm sure those last 3 or 4 laps he understood the time difference between us and him, and he didn't have to go get him all he could go get. So, I don't know. It would have been nice to have about 20 more to find out, but we had what we had, and he had what he had, and he won the race.
All right, I got Terry and I think Seth. Raise your hand, let me know. Forget Seth. All right, Terry.
Terry Blaney, ESPN.com. Jeff, you've been around long enough to see some great drivers, including, Earnhardt Sr. At this point, where do you think Jimmie stands? A lot of people don't give him the credit because he's in the best team, the best crew chief, but how good is he in your opinion?
Well, they said the same thing about Earnhardt and said the same thing about Petty, and they said the same thing about Jeff Gordon, and they say the same thing about everybody that wins championships. He's driving for the best team. So, I don't think your generation ever gives you the credit you deserve. I think that the next generation will give Jimmie the credit he deserves. It's he does it differently than Earnhardt did it. Earnhardt did it real aggressively, and it was just different. Jimmie does it real smooth, and Jeff did it like that too. So I don't know. It's hard for me to compare drivers, and especially one that I'm still racing against. But I don't think that there's any way you can dismiss his ability, and I don't think you can just say, well, if anybody was driving for the 48, they could have that success, because he does have teammates that are at Hendrick, and he's he's pretty good. So I have no way of judging, but it'd be hard not to put him up near the top of the list.
We'll finish up right here.
Becca Gladden, Insider Racing News. Jeff, momentum is one of those sort of intangibles that some drivers give a lot of credit to and some not as much. Where do you fall on that spectrum, and how important is momentum going into the off season?
I think momentum is the most overused word in all of sports. I think the momentum is created because of success, not success created because of momentum. When you have momentum, it's because you're doing the things that it takes to be successful. And by the way, you have the opposite of momentum too, and that's when you're not doing the things it takes to be successful. So, you know, there's obviously confidence is important, but you know, when you get on a roll and you're doing the things you need to do, it's because you can. It's because your team's capable. It's because you're doing it. There's not a great being that says, okay, now you guys feel all good and happy, so now you can go run well. It's more about what you can do in your car, and success creates momentum. And I don't care who you are or what you are. If you're not sitting in a car fast enough and you're not capable of driving it, you'll never have momentum because you don't have the stuff it takes to build momentum.
Jeff, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
We're now joined by today's third place finisher, driver of the number 11 FedEx Ground Toyota, Denny Hamlin. Denny, tell us about your run today.
We had a good day. You know, we threw a lot of different things at the car this morning. You know, figuring that we were going to be you know, 5th to 10th place car by the practice sheets, and you know, so we have a new car here, and we ran a setup that we've never really run before, anything like that, and we finished where we usually do at this racetrack. I think this is our 4th straight 3rd place finish. So no matter what you throw in the car, you know, I'm the best of the worst of the best, one of the two.
We'll open up to questions. I got Don and then Seth.
Hi, Danny. It's Don Coble with Morris News Service. When we left Texas a week ago, some people were saying, well, maybe Jimmie isn't as invincible as we thought, and then he comes out here and does what he did today. Were there times that you thought that this just isn't racing, this is almost personal on his part to try to reestablish the fact that, you know, I'm really tough to beat?
Yeah, I mean, anytime that Jimmie is down, it's because it's not usually because of performance. It's usually because of, you know, an incident like he had last week. There was no doubt in my mind they were going to come this week and make a statement. You know, obviously leading all the laps pretty much and winning the race obviously sent a statement out there that, you know, he is the best, and you know, that they you know, they're not going to be denied this year. You know, the only thing that was going to keep him from winning the championship this year was bad luck, and obviously they had a big enough gap where they could afford that one bad luck that they had last week.
Coming up, Rick Hendrick was not only the winning car owner Sunday, he is officially the 2009 championship car owner. We'll talk to him next. It's that time of year again, time for some college hoops, and ESPN has you covered. It's the tip-off marathon on Tuesday, part of 24 hours of live games. Gonzaga at Michigan State is at 8 p.m., followed by Memphis at #1 Kansas at 10 p.m. Joining us now is the winning car owner from Phoenix, and of course that's Rick Hendrick. And Rick, thanks for being with us. Lots of reasons to be excited today. Not only did one of your cars go to victory lane, but with the way your teams performed today, you have locked up the Owners' Championship for the season. Your 12th Owners' title. What does this mean to you?
You know, it's hard to explain. I never thought that I'd win one of these deals, and or have an opportunity to. Hopefully, I wanted to win a race, and then win one championship was kind of neat. And then you set your goals a little higher, and I'm so proud of these guys and the whole organization. They've worked really hard, worked together, and you know, it'd be good to see what it all shakes out here at the end down at Homestead. But man, it's a great feeling to have them sitting here 1, 2, 3 in the points.
Yeah, I was going to mention 1, 2, 3. That's never happened in the history of the sport. How much of a goal is that for you guys?
Well, you know, it's like when the year starts, you think that all 4 of your cars got a shot at the championship. And, you know, after you run all these races and you have the DNFs and wrecks that you can't control, and, you know, with a competition like it is, to have 3 cars sitting there like that, it's unbelievable. I hope we can finish that way. But, you know, it's been a heck of a year. And I have to give credit to all the folks there at Motorsports because, you know, like last week in Texas, I had people this morning asking me, well, why were the 24 and 5 guys working on the 48 car? I mean, they're trying to beat them in the championship, and they're all working on the car in the garage area. And, you know, the answer is that's what's got us here. That's what's got these cars that's competitive, working together like that. So real proud of them, and we've got to keep that same attitude.
you know, I couldn't agree with you more. Certainly a championship effort by your entire organization. We saw it last week in Texas. But at the same time, you know, the 48 team came in here with a little bit of pressure on them, trying to rebound. With the way they performed this afternoon, how much of a boost do you think that was for them?
It was a tremendous boost because, you know, I know after Talladega how good everybody felt. Jimmie felt so good with that kind of a cushion, you know, and you think, well, you go to Texas, you've dodged a big bullet at Talladega, and then 2 or 3 laps into the race, you get swept up in one, and you're in the garage, and then all of a sudden all those points are just evaporate. So, you know, this is a sport of you know, highs and lows, and you're going to have, you know, more lows than highs sometimes. But, you know, he came in here, he and Chad, and they qualified well. They knew they would race well, and then in the last practice they were the fastest. And so Mark did all he could do. Jeff did too. And but you know, I think Jimmie showed a lot of character, he and Chad, to bounce back after that. It's easy to get rattled because you think all of a sudden you're snake bit, and it can slip away from you here right at the end. But they did a great job today, and I'm really proud of the Lowe's team.
Now, of course, you're in somewhat of a unique position, being the car owner for the championship leader and the guy chasing him, that being the 5 team. When you address your teams this week, what will you tell them?
Well, you know, we went through this a couple of times. We've been through it with Terry Labonte and Jeff, and then with Jimmie and Jeff. And, you know, it's important for the guys to know when they see me, you know, after the race in Homestead, I'm going to go to the loser first. And nobody's a loser, but somebody's going to win the championship. And I go to the other guys first, and I tell them that and how proud I am of all of them, because I never want them to think, okay, he favors one team over the other. He's running down there to celebrate the championship he wanted him to win. So I'm real sensitive to that because, again, that's what got us here. And so I tell the guys in a team meeting how proud I am of them, and I'll see them all before the race starts, and then I'll go to them in reverse order, and then I'll celebrate with the champion.
And, of course, we need to look at these statistics, and we see that Jimmie Johnson carries a commanding lead to Homestead. Could be on the verge of his 4th consecutive title. Put this in perspective for us, Rick. You've been around the sport a long time. You've seen some of the greatest teams. What are we witnessing right now with the 48?
Well, if you look back at the last maybe 5 or 6 seasons, and you look at the year, I think it was 04 that he lost by 8 points, and you say that he's been there every year, you know, I don't think he really gets the credit he deserves for the talent that he has, and probably the most competitive time I've ever been involved in with NASCAR. So Jimmie Johnson is a class act, and he and Chad got a lot of magic, but Jimmie just has become a student of the sport. He works his butt off in the gym. He eats like he's supposed to. He eats, sleeps, and drinks how to make the team better, himself better. And Chad does the same thing. And together they're an awesome combination. And I knew that Mark Martin was going to help us all this year, and he has. I mean, he's helped elevate the whole organization. And, you know, our goal now is to get the 88 running better, and we just seem to keep getting the snake bit a little bit. But, you know, we're determined that to try to have 4 cars that compete every week, and you know, in a level of competition that they can win races and just compete for the championship.
Well, Rick, I know there's millions of fans out there pulling for you to get that 88 running well. Good luck with that. You got one more week to get that car to victory lane. But in the meantime, enjoy your success. You've won the owner's title, and, well, it certainly looks like, you know, you could be on the verge of history with that 48 team going to Homestead. Congratulations.
Well, thank you guys at ESPN. You do a super job, and we're proud to have you in the sport.
Still ahead, as we get you ready for Homestead, we'll give you a stat that gives some hope to Mark Martin. You don't want to miss this. Coming up.
An entire season's work is on the line today. We are going to see something that in the 60-year history of NASCAR racing has only been done once before.
Carl Edwards just dominating this race. If Johnson has a problem, blows the motor, he can lose his championship.
14-second lead. He's just backing off. Great job. It's running out right now. It's running out right now. We're out of gas.
Carl Edwards gets his 9th win of the year, and Jimmie Johnson makes history.
Where'd Jimmie finish? 16th, bud. 16th. We lost the war, but we won this battle, man. Good job, boys. Good job.
It's not all over yet. In fact, Mark Martin has gained at least 108 points on Jimmie Johnson in a single race 9 times in his career, including once back at Homestead in 2005 when Martin had a 132-point edge on Johnson. Remember, he gained 111 points on Johnson just last week at Texas. Now, certainly, Mark Martin finds himself in a pretty deep hole. Johnson has a sizable advantage. What do you think the mindset is of these two guys heading into the season finale?
Well, all the pressure is still on Jimmie Johnson because he can't make any mistakes. He's going to hear a lot of strange noise in the cars. Mark Martin can just go down there with a clear head and try to win and get all the points he can.
Do you think Texas is still in the back of the mind of Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knaus?
I don't think after today. I think Jimmie Johnson is, I am the best driver in the world, and he is.
And it's really hard to argue with that. He has 3 consecutive championships and could be just 400 miles away from a 4th consecutive title. We'll all be paying attention. Good night, everyone.